Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, very special guest, former WWE superstar, OVW superstar. He is known as Tank, Mr. John the Tank Toland. Welcome to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, John. It's great to be here.
What's going on in your world?
Oh man, what's not going on when you got a 3.5-year-old? Um, just having a great time being a dad, staying in shape. Just trying to so I can keep up with her, and and bump around in the ring still and have a good time, and just try and live a happy, healthy life. That's pretty much what I've been up to. Yeah.
Anything wrestling related?
I have I do have some things coming up. I'm actually knocking some of the ring rust off, really. Not like there's a lot to knock off, but just when you haven't been in there for a little bit of time, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to go in there and give it your best performance. Because I the last thing I want to do is go in the ring and like some of these guys I've seen that has stepped away for a little while and they come back and it's like you should have never have come back,
Yeah.
So I don't want to be one of those guys. So yeah, but I love it, man. I love it, and it's just at first I had to take off some time just for some like health reasons and like injury stuff, but now that I'm able to go full steam again, I'm so ready to get back in there.
Is that one of those things where you like look at it and you're dying to get back in the ring, or you're okay with kind of not working as much?
I mean, I guess for everybody, it's their own personal feelings. I mean, for me, growing up being such a huge fan, as most people that get into the business, they all have the story of like being a lifelong fan and all that stuff, and they have their story of what really inspired them to get into it. But like, it was always a passion of mine from the time I was a little kid, being a little runt, being picked on and bullied and stuff like that, and then turning on the TV and seeing guys like Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man and all these guys that were so big and just impressive and just whooping up. And I was like, shoot, I want to be like that. I don't want to get picked on and beat up. So, that's kind of one of the things that inspired me, and the fact that they're just like so over the top with their personalities. And I was always a fun time as a little kid, just like a little showman. Just having fun, being theatrical and ridiculous, and trying to always grab the spotlight. So yeah, I mean, it was always a big thing for me. And you would think that maybe as you get older and you go through it long enough, you kind of get over that entertainment bug of being in there and entertaining the fans and the whole thing. But it never I never lost that passion and that feel to want to get back in the ring, at least not yet. So I love getting out there and just putting on a show and telling a good story and having a good time and getting a reaction from the fans. That's for me. That's one of the best feelings you can possibly get.
How'd you actually break in?
Well, let's see. I was at Westchester University getting my degree, my college degree, and I was, still really watching it hardcore with my friends. That we would go and practice the moves in the quad, and watch on video and just rewind the videotape so we could see just what they're doing, stop it, pause it, rewind it a million times over, and just try and do exactly what they were doing out in the courtyard. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I know it sounds crazy, but like, and it was always my dream as a kid, telling people I wanted to be a professional wrestler when I grow up, but I at least want to give it a shot. And hey, who knows? Maybe I'll be a weekend warrior and get to do some shows, some local shows, and have my time to have a good time, drive the spotlight and have some fun. And so I looked up what like wrestling programs or wrestling schools were in the area. And being from Jersey, I was lucky enough that the Monster Factory, Pretty Boy Larry Sharp's Monster Factory, was only like half an hour, 25 minutes from where I was actually living. So it was phenomenal. So I was like, I graduated college, got my teaching degree, got my job teaching, and right away I was just like, well, I got to just now I got my college degree and, made my parents happy and made myself happy for accomplishing that. And I was like, I'm going to, give him a call and see. And so I called up, Larry answered, and he said, oh yeah, come on down. You can do a tryout on, this weekend. And I said, okay, great. So I went down there, tried out, and he probably said to me what he says to every other kid guy, you got something special, kid. I could see it. Like, yeah, the special is the $3,000 it took to join the school at the time. But no, but I mean, like, I felt like I did okay considering I'd never been in a wrestling ring before, and just because I'm an athletic person, and I think I kind of picked up on it quickly, luckily. And I watched it a million times and had already been practicing a lot of stuff. But running the ropes for the first time, there's no way to practice that unless you're in the ring. So, but it was fun. Ran the ropes, did some bumps, and that was the start of it back in, it was October of 2000. So yeah, October of 2000. That's when that was my first tryout. And I remember the last payment I made was on March 16th, 2001. So, and that was a good day for me. I was like, all right, I'm paying this off on 316, like a mark, because I was a big Stone Cold fan, and then that was that, and that's where it got to start.
Who else was in that class with you?
At the time, there were some guys that were there who never really made it up there to the show, but the one guy that made it up there was Cliff Compton, who was he was Domino from Deuce and Domino tag team. He was a good friend of mine. That when I first joined, he'd just gotten there himself not too long before that, but he was living up in New York, and him and a couple of my other buddies, they came down from Johnstown, and he came down from New York. And I said, hey guys, just crash at my place. So, we became fast friends, and we were our own little, clique, and we go train on what I train Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. And they come down on Fridays, and I'd train with them on Fridays. Then we'd go out after that. We'd either go out to a club or a bar, or just go grab some dinner, have a good time. And then, we'd do a show on a Saturday, and, once we're ready for shows. And that was pretty much, it was Cliff Compton, and the other guy who came, had already been there for a bit, was Seamus. Seamus had come over from Ireland, and he took his first bumps in the ring there at the Monster Factory as well. Headbanger, one of the headbangers would stop in once in a while. I'm trying to think of anyone else that was at the time there when I was that got up there. I don't think so. I think that was it. I think it was just me and a couple of other guys.
When you go back to that, I mean, Monster Factory is like legendary. So is that an easier way to kind of break in and make it, and like get to an OVW, or does that not matter that you train at the legendary Monster Factory?
No, I mean, obviously, the Monster Factory had a really good name and reputation. I wasn't like, hey, I'm going to, Joe Blow's backyard freaking wrestling arena to train with some guy who's never done anything in the business, or, even knew what the hell he was doing himself. When I went there, and I looked online and I saw the Monster Factory, and it said basically like it's the Harvard of wrestling schools. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, well, and I saw some of the people they had, produced, and I was like, seems good to me. And I did research, and it seemed like great, and I was right. And I feel like it definitely had helped me get the ground game and the basics of what I needed to become a good wrestler. When I was wrestling there, Larry Sharp would come in and give his 2 cents here and there and help a little bit. He'd do some coaching, but it was mainly a guy from Canada, a real character named Ed Atlas or Ed Seeley, and he was like a Canadian wrestler that would come down, and he was a very interesting guy. And sometimes I questioned some of his things, and he didn't like it after one point. And we had some words one time, I remember, because I thought it was unnecessary to have spine buster practice. I mean, shoot, we only have we got a bump card, right? So
Right.
you only take so many bumps, and that ring, holy shit, that ring that we would practice in, we didn't practice in the show ring. We practiced in this little strip mall, and it was just, little like storefront area type, and it had two rings that were like probably like maybe like I'd say 8 to 10 inches off the ground, and they were just basically like it was just like 2x8s and plywood, and then piece of carpet padding, and then the canvas, and it was small little rings, and those things were there. If you could bump in that, then you could bump in anything. You might you could take bumps on the ground and you're good. So so when I actually got to do some shows on the indie scene and get into a couple other rings that I'd actually I was like, holy crap! I said, this is what it's like to work in a nice ring. And it was pretty awesome. Yeah, even when I worked in the show ring, because it was Larry's dad, Augie's ring that they used, I think, for what was it, I think it was WrestleMania 3. They used that ring, so it was a pretty good ring. It has center spring in the middle, and it was great compared to what we were used to. So yeah. So long story, man, I just went down a rabbit hole with that one, vortex. Sorry, but yeah, it's the Monster Factory is definitely an awesome place to get some quality training and to get your groundwork in before you kind of step it up to the next level. Yeah.
So how do you get noticed eventually by OVW and get recruited and brought into OVW?
Well, I mean, what happened was they were actually doing the first ever like WWE OVW like tryout camp. I remember like reading about it, and they're like taking applications to come and do a tryout to try and earn your way into a spot for OVW and possibly a developmental contract with the WWE. And I said, wow. I was like, I'd been wrestling. I guess I'd been wrestling for like, I'd only been wrestling for like 2 years. But I was doing indies, and I was working for Donnie B, who's if you know Donnie B, and Mike Bucci, Nova's brother, twin brother.
Yep.
For
Phoenix, right? Phoenix Championship
Wrestling. Yeah. And they brought me on there, and I started wrestling as Tank Toland, and I went to them, and they made me titanium Tank Toland with platinum Mike Preston, who was basically my first ever tag team partner. And it was cool. It was fun. Did some shows with them and had a good time. And I learned some more stuff. And it was great because they had some good names coming in. They were having like Eddie Guerrero come in, and they were having some really good names, and just learned so much from just being out there on the independent scene. And that was the first time I got to work other people than people I had trained with. So that was really awesome. But I mean, to get back to the how did I get to OVW? They were having that tryout, and I said, shoot, I'll send in my application. So I sent the application, and I sent my picture in, and did all the stuff, jumped through all the hoops, and time goes by, and I'm not hearing anything, and I'm like, all right, well, obviously there had to be a ton of applications, because it was like they were taking people from all over the world, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't know. I guess something told me, just check to see if they got it. So I actually called OVW Arena, and Danny Davis's girlfriend, Julie, answered the phone. And I said, hey, I was like, hey, hi, my name's John Toland. And I sent in an application. I just want to make sure you got it. I know I don't want to seem crazy or anything like that, but I just want to check, make sure it got to you okay. And she said, no problem. She's such a sweet person. She was one of my favorite people when I got there too. And so she went and she actually checked, and she goes, I don't see anything. And I was like, oh man. She's like, look, the deadline, obviously, the deadline was like the next day. And I think that's why it's kind of worrying. And she said, look, you just send it in. I know that you're sending it in. So, even if it doesn't get here tomorrow, I'll make sure that it's seen. I said, okay, great. Thank you. And I sent it, and sure enough, it got to her, and I was lucky enough that I checked because I would never have been there. And so that's how I got. And I was one of the lucky people to be selected to come and train. They took 50 people for that out of I mean, from what I understood, it was thousands and thousands of people sending tapes and submissions in, and I was just lucky enough to be one of them. So,
So do you have to pay to train with them, or are they paying you?
well, when you try out, when you first go there for the tryout, I think the tryout, had to have cost something. It was probably, I don't know, the tryout was probably like $500 for the week or something like that, something along those lines. Had to be. I mean, they're not going to just have you go there for free. So you go there, and then everyone went and stayed at a hotel that was near the arena, and we'd get bussed over every day. And we did it was an all day long tryout. And you had Dr. Tom Pritchard there, who was at the time, he was the head of developmental talent for watching the guys and, reporting back to Johnny Ace or whatever. And then, then there was, who was there at the time? Obviously Danny Davis, Jim Cornette. And then, Rocky Johnson was there. And he was a character. He's cool. But yeah, there were guys there who were watching and kind of taking notes, and of course, obviously Rip Rogers. I can't forget Rip because he's the man. But yeah, and he was at the time training the developmental guys under contract. So we went through all this training, and I was nervous the whole time because I was like seeing all these other people that had a lot of talent, and Christopher Daniels was there, which was, he didn't need to be there. He is just so good. He was good enough. I guess he was just went there to maybe get a look again. I don't know. But yeah, there were some talented people there, and talented people that ended up, like myself, getting signed from that class. There was definitely a good handful of people actually that came from that class that got signed and moved on. So yeah.
What do you think about Jimmy Cornette?
I hate that guy. No, I'm kidding. Jimmy Cornette is, and some people do. Some people can't stand him. But Jimmy Cornette, I mean, God, man, without like sound like a broken record, because every time I do a podcast, I have to put him over because he was probably my biggest supporter when I was there. And not only my biggest supporter, he gave me the biggest push, and he taught me an immense amount about the business, about psychology, about tag team, especially because I mean, who's better to talk to about tag teams than Jimmy Cornette? I mean, but I mean, who's better? There's not many better people to talk to in general about wrestling and the business in general, because he's just phenomenal. He's an encyclopedia. He's a genius. And I mean, that's my opinion anyway, and I'm sticking to it. But yeah, he liked me, and I was very fortunate to have learned from him and be a part of his show.
When you do get picked up and signed, they immediately want to put you with Chris Cage, aka Chris Pavone, or was that something that comes along later on?
No, actually, it was when I first got there. I remember because we did the tryouts, and everything, you didn't hear anything right away. I did the tryouts in like February, and I remember I had stopped teaching because I wanted to. I was like all in by now. I was like, okay, I'm done teaching. I'm gonna do something else. And so I was lucky enough to have a friend who owned a fitness store for home gyms and stuff like that. So he let me be a sales manager there. And so I just work out, and then if people came in, I'd sell them some gym equipment, and then get back to working out. And it was awesome. So and it was good paying too. And I just remember just getting a call from Jimmy. It was like just like the middle of the day, and he's like, "This Tank?" It's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Yeah," and I saw it was a number from not my area code, and I was like, "Hey, it's Jim Cornette. How you doing?" I was like, I'm good. How are you? And he's like, I'm great. I'm great. How would you like to come to OVW and work towards a developmental contract with the WWE? And I was like, uh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I was like so like at that moment over the moon. I felt like a little kid on Christmas, and like I just won Publishers Clearinghouse or something. And and I said, absolutely, yeah, yeah, I'm there. And he goes, how soon can you be there here? And I said, well, how soon do you need me? He goes, as soon as you can get here. I said, okay. I said, great. I said, and it was, I think it was the end, actually the end of, I think it was like the end of April. And I said, I said, just give me like a week, 2 weeks at the most to just get my affairs in order and pack my stuff up, and I'll get right out there. And because I didn't want to screw my friend over who gave me a job, and want to make sure he was covered, and got it all together. And I'll never forget, it was May 3rd, 2003. Which happened to also be Derby weekend, Kentucky Derby weekend. I drove on out there, took the 12-hour drive straight through, excited as hell. And I remember I rolled into town, and I really had never seen anything in town other than the hotel and the arena, because we just get bussed back and forth. And I just remember just getting there and being like, oh my gosh, this is definitely different from Jersey, but I'm so excited. And that was kind of how that started. And I know I'm rambling on, but I like to give backstory. But when I first started working there, I got there on a Saturday, and I remember I practiced for a couple of days, and then they had the TV taping on Wednesday, and they decided, hey, we're gonna put him on the show. And my very first match was actually against my very first match was against Doug Basham for the OVW heavyweight title, which was pretty crazy. And I was like, I guess the pressure's on. So that was pretty crazy. And Doug was super, super awesome, super nice and professional. And he could have just, he could have just worked me over, and just got over strong on me. But he let me have a match, and he let me, get shine, and he let me do my thing, and made me look good. And it went well enough that they liked it. And the next week, at the time, Randy Orton was there, and they gave me a match against Randy. And he was actually just, recovering from a shoulder injury, I think it was. And so they put me against Orton, and he was great, and he was cool, and we went over some stuff. And he said, would you mind if I gave you the diamond cutter, since Diamond Dallas Page isn't in anymore in the WWE? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And so he gave me the diamond cutter twice, which ended up becoming the RKO. So, yep, and that was the first time he ever gave the RKO to anyone. So I was the first guy to take that move. And so that was pretty cool. Yeah. And that was cool. And then next thing you know, I thought, I was probably going to continue being on the singles, and they're going to build me up that way. But Nova, Mike Bucci, Simon Dean, whatever name, he ended up, he was originally in the tag team with Chris Cage in Adrenaline. And he actually ended up tearing his medial ligament and had to be out. He had to, get, recover, get surgery. And so Jimmy Cornette said, hey, Tank's from Jersey, you're from Jersey, we'll do an angle where you're boys, and which we did know each other. And he goes, you're boys, and we'll just do it like you're going to have him step in for you and, tag with Cage. And so that happened. And I think it was either the first match or the second match, we went out and we beat I think it was Lance Cade and Jindrak or something from Bolin Services, and for the Southern Tag Team Champions. And so it was a real whirlwind of a beginning for my career at OVW, and it was pretty awesome. I was really lucky, really fortunate. And but this was before I hadn't got my contract yet. I was just working with OVW, working towards a contract.
When do you get the contract?
So I ended up wrestling. I got there in May, and worked for OVW without a contract until I think it was beginning or mid October. So I went the summer without, the contract, and I guess just proving myself. And I think it was one of those things where, all right, well, let's just see what the guys got, which I get it. I got to prove myself. First, I definitely had, which I didn't mind doing. I was just thankful for the opportunity to get a shot at it. And also, I think, I think my height had something to do with it, because I was a really big guy and I was very athletic. And I could do, I could sell, I could talk on the mic and all that stuff. But I think, Vince likes big guys. So, and Johnny Ace also likes, to make Vince happy. So I think that was a little bit of a challenge, because if I was, the size I was and a couple inches taller, or even if I was 6 foot, shoot, I'd probably still be in the business right now, but up there. But yeah, it was pretty much, I think, a combination of just prove myself and, had to overcome the height issue.
When did they
Which I
decide to
did.
put you with Chad?
The name that shall not be spoken. No, I'm just kidding. Well, Chris and I had a really good run together. We had won the OVW title multiple times, and basically, Chad got signed. And I remember, I'll never forget. I remember hearing it from Dr. Tom. Dr. Tom was at OVW visiting and checking everyone out, and giving his usual speeches that he does and helping us out. And he goes, oh yeah, and we just signed a guy. He comes to all the shows wherever he's close to, and he's always backstage smiling, and he's a perfect example of someone who just is persistent and won't take no for an answer. Always back there with a smile, shaking hands, and I was like, oh, this guy sounds like a good guy. It sounds like someone's a hard worker, and someone that's willing to do whatever it takes to get a shot. And sure enough, he's like, yeah, he'll be coming next week. And there was a couple guys that actually knew who he was. And they're like, oh my God, this guy got signed. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, wow, what's up with him? And they're like, man, he's a little different. He's a little different. I was like, oh, okay. So sure enough, he comes and there he is. He's like my height, similar build. And next thing I know, it's the WWE is talking about putting us two together because we are same height, same build. I'm better looking, but I'm just kidding. I'm not. But it's just, when we got linked together, I'd already kind of got a feel for who he was, and he wasn't really my cup of tea, from a couple different perspectives, personality, and also psychology. But hey, that's all good. So what ended up happening was Jimmy decided, since they wanted to put us together, he'll do this whole angle where Chad comes in, he's my cousin, and he's just really excited about me and my opportunity to become champion and all this stuff. And he drives a wedge between me and Chris, and then ends up, long story short, I turn on Chris, I become a heel, and then we're going to have a big angle with me and him, and we're going to, compete for the heavyweight title and all this stuff. And right when that was about to happen, I actually tore my bicep for the first time, and that sucked because I had just torn it, and a couple of days later, all the writers and Stephanie McMahon and all the big wigs were coming to come and take a look at everybody and see who's got something to give them right now, because they're getting ready to bring more people up. And so I said, well, shit, I am not getting surgery. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna just keep wrestling, and I'm not gonna lose my opportunity. So Stephanie came with all the writers and everything, and I did I think I did one or two matches and cut a couple promos or something, and I felt I really did well, and I was like, that was solid. I really had some good stuff there, and sure enough, I got out, and I remember I was just thankful I got through the matches with my torn bicep, and I went to the back, and I was getting a drink of water, and Tommy Dreamer came back to me because at the time he was now doing the developmental stuff, and he said, Tank, good news and bad news. Stephanie loves you. She loves you. She loves what you're doing, and she wants to bring you up right now. Bad news is I had to tell her that you tore your bicep, and dude, you have to get surgery. And he goes, you can't not get surgery. And I was like, oh. And as he's telling me, Stephanie comes back, and she's like, Tank, because I was upset, man. And she's like, hey, don't worry about it. Your job's going to be here. We're not going to let you go or anything like that. Just get better. And when you get better, we'll bring you up. Okay. I said, all right. Okay. I'm like, hopefully that's not lip service. And she was true. She was true to her word. And, I went and got surgery. And the cool thing about it was Jimmy continued to use me throughout the whole time. I don't think I missed a show. I might have missed one show where they said I was attacked backstage by Chris Cage, because then it got turned into part of the show and I'd come out in a wheelchair and a neck brace and black eyes and bandages around my head. And I was overreacting it on purpose as a heel to say, hey, he attacked me and all this stuff when he never really attacked me. And it was fun. It was fun. I blamed him for everything bad that had happened to me. I blamed him for, being, even blamed them saying that I couldn't have sex anymore because I couldn't get aroused because of the trauma that I had taken from him. But yeah, so yeah, it was a fun time. But that's how I got linked up with Chad. So
when they do put you guys together and they do end up putting you on the main roster, what is up with the name, the gimmick? Like, why the change and why the Dicks and why not the Brown Bombers?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, it was just something that happens on a whim because what had originally happened was when we were going up originally, they wanted us to go up and be Nova's or Simon Dean's like little henchmen. They wanted they wanted us to be his lackey. Like Nova's like, I want these guys to come and they'll be my lackeys, they'll be my guys, my henchmen, and because we're big guys, and he'll come out and he's doing that whole fitness routine. Eventually ended up being the Gemini that ended up being with him. But so the way it happened though was they're like, okay, well, what we'll do though is we'll bring them in and they'll just come out of the crowd and they'll just take people out, like the people in the ring, whoever gets done their match, they'll take them out. So whoever was wrestling at the time, when the match was over, we'd run out from the crowd wearing black tank tops and black slacks, and then we just slide into the ring and just start destroying whoever was in there. And we just hit them with finishers and all that stuff. And for a few weeks, they're like, who are these guys? And then one week they even called us the Tolands. I was like, all right, cool. All right, I can handle that. I can deal with that. And then I think it was like the very next week, that was not mentioned again, the Tolands. But I remember we were in there and we were laying out like the Mexicals or something like that. I can't remember. I think it was the Mexicals. And I just remember being hyped up and like I just remember just ripping off my shirt real quick and just throwing it. And we got to the back and Vince looks at me and he's like, you know what? The way you ripped off that shirt, he goes, I loved it. You guys remind me of Chippendales. Next week, I want you guys to come back dressed as Chippendales. I just want to see what it would look like. Just I got an idea. And I was like, all right, I mean, okay, Vince, what am I going to say? No to Vince? I was like, all right. So went to our seamstress, got some Chippendale outfits made with the cufflinks and the tearaway pants and the bow ties and the suspenders and all that stuff. Came back, showed him, and he's like, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do with you. Yep, that's what we're going to do with you. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I'll make it work, So already in my head, I'm like, okay, well, what's my whole character going to be like? And so I started thinking of people that were kind of like similar to that style that I can kind of feed off of. And I was like, it would be cool if it was like a Val Venus, like Ravishing Rick Rude type of mix up, kind of that kind of flavor. And Stephanie said, well, they want you to come up with a name. If you can think of some wrestling names, it's kind of like wrestling, but Chippendale or sexy or whatever. And so we're, brainstorming over the week. And one of the names that came up that I thought was pretty cool. I loved the thought of being called Weapons of Mass Seduction. I was like, that would be cool. It's wrestling, but it's sexy, and that'd be cool. So I told Stephanie. I remember everybody was in the ring. You know how you're warming up before the match starts. Everyone's in there training and stuff, and the writers are out there. The agents are out there, rather, not the writers, or agents. And I'm telling Stephanie right by the ramp, and I'm like, okay, Stephanie, how about this? Weapons of Mass Seduction. And she's like, I love it. She's like, that's great. That's great. And then out of the corner of my ear, I hear, why don't we call him the Swinging Richards? And I'm like, I look over and there's Michael Hayes chirping. And I'm like, that motherfucker. I'm like, all right, I see what's going on here. So he's like, that's hilarious. And of course, a couple of the other boys that are kissing his ass are laughing. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to go tell Vince that right now. So he goes and, he goes off and I guess he went to Vince or whoever, the writers or whoever. And because sure enough, it's like, man, it's like maybe 5-10 minutes before I'm getting ready to go do my match. And Stephanie comes up to me and she's like, Tank, so there's a change. So you're not going to be Weapons of Mass Seduction. You're not going to be the Swinging Richards. It was too close to Stevie Richards. And then they thought of maybe just calling you the Swinging Dicks. And that's too on the nose. And so we're gonna call you the Dicks. And I said, okay, all right. Okay, I'm going to roll with this. I'll make this work. And I said, Steph, is there any way that we could spell this D-I-X? And she's like, no, they want you to spell D-I-C-K-S. And I was like, all right. I'm going to do what I got to do. It's like, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, my mom's going to be so proud. So, but it's all good. But, so that was kind of how the Dicks got its name. It's just me ripping off my damn tank top and Vince getting a boner from it. Not really getting a boner. Maybe. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Vince. Just kidding. Yeah. But no. But yeah, so that was the idea. So yeah.
When you look at it, is it a rib though, or is it like a legit gimmick? What do you think?
Honestly, at the time, I'm gonna say, coming from Vince directly, it's not a rib. I don't think it's a rib coming from Vince directly, because I know he always wants to put out a good product, but I also know he's also put out some stinkers, especially during that time. We got to remember, during this time, it wasn't just the Dicks. All right, they took a guy who was a great worker, Paul Burchill, and they originally had him with William Regal, and he's also from England. And Paul Burchill is awesome, and he had this cool freaking gimmick going. He called himself the Ripper, and he was awesome, and he was vicious, and it was I loved it. And Paul is such a great worker, and they decided to make him a pirate. Why? Because Pirates of the Caribbean was popular at the time, so they'll make him a Jack Sparrow type of guy, And so they decided to do that, and then they decided to make a 7-foot monster, Matt Morgan, a stutter. You don't need a gimmick. You're 7 foot. That is your gimmick. You are a big monster. You don't need anything else. And an athletic built monster. So it's like, and they decided to give him a stutter. And then they decide to, what else that they did? That they the boogeyman, but the boogeyman ended up getting over. So that's awesome. Boogeyman got over, and I love Marty. And and they let's see. Oh, they gave Jillian Hall a big mole. They decided to put a big mole on the side of Jillian's face as a diva. So I mean, like they did all this goofy stuff that was coming from Vince and the writers in general. So who knows? I think it's like, and I always heard it from Tommy Dreamer, or I heard it from Dr. Tom. They say, hey, look, you're going to get up there. You don't know how long you're going to have up there. You might have a month, you might have a year, you might have a decade or a lifetime of wrestling. He goes, you just don't know. He goes, there's a lot of things that happen. He goes, but one of the things is, when you go up there, they're going to throw a lot of stuff at the wall, and whatever doesn't stick, they'll just get rid of. So you got to just hope that whatever you get, you can make it stick. And that's what I tried my best to do. It was kind of hard, being a couple factors. One, my tag partner, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was a difficult, tag team relationship. But the other difficult part was, here you are in this era where they were actually trying to be like family friendly at this time. They were really trying to get into that family friendly type of thing where it was more geared toward the kids again. And so here we are, we're the Dicks, and we're on SmackDown, which is regular network television. And that was my concern. I brought that up to Stephanie. I said, Stephanie, I'm gonna do whatever I can to get this gimmick over. And I said, I want to make it work, and I want to make it great. And I'm gonna do everything I can. I said, but I'm a little worried that being on SmackDown on network television, that's gonna be hard for us, because we're not gonna be able to get away with as much and do as much to make this gimmick get over. I said, this is definitely a gimmick that should be on Raw, where it's cable television. They go later at night. You can get away with saying more and doing more. And that was, I told her, and she goes, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. And sure enough, like, I was lucky enough to be able to write my own promos and vignettes for backstage for us, for our interviews. And they'd say, just, get these points across and make it funny. And make it your own, make it the Dicks. I said, okay. And I was writing all this, fun stuff, of course, double entendres and, all that stuff about, being a real hard and veiny and, describing, the male genitalia, but as ourselves in the Dicks, and, saying stuff like we're hard to beat and stuff like that, just this stupid, easy stuff that, but could get over and be funny. And, while we're doing the vignettes, like, all the people are off camera, just, loving it and laughing, and they'd say cut, and everyone's laughing their asses off. And people, like, one of the guys comes back, hey, Triple H and Vince are laughing their asses off in the office. They loved it. I'm like, awesome. And then, like, 15 minutes later, they'd come back to me and they'd be like, hey, look, we got to reshoot that, because you can't say this, and this, and you got to change it up. And I'm like, and in my head, I'm just like, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, it's got a limited shelf life when you can only do so much. So you kind of get handcuffed. But like I said, like, I was just trying to make it work the best I could.
And if it's not risque, it's kind of lame and corny and can't do much with the characters. I mean, you could kind of like have good matches, or wrestle the Road Warrior, the Legion of Doom, quote unquote, at the time of the Mexicals, Eminem. I mean, whoever. But when you're not able to really fully do the gimmick, it comes off as lame.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes my friends who just want to bust my balls will send me like links to like, oh, check this out. You're one of the worst 10 what, you're in the top 10 of worst tag teams of all time, and oh, look, you're ranked as one of the most gayest tag teams of all time too. And I'm like, well, yeah, yeah, hey, what are you gonna do? At least I'm in the top 10 for something. But yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing. Like, it's bittersweet because I will always be grateful for trying the business and getting and not giving up on my dream and actually being able to get to the show and make it. Like, I'll never like take that away from myself. But like, there's always going to be a part of me that was like, man, son of a bitch, if just this or if just that, if I just not been in this tag team, or if I, or if I was solo, or if I was with Chris Cage, or whatever, a million different ifs, like if this, if that, I always tell myself, like, man, I think I could have had a better turnout, a better outcome than what I did. And but it is what it is, and it just stinks because I don't feel like people, fans, that saw me up in the WWE, fans that saw me in OVW, uh, or other places, Ring of Honor, or the Indies or wherever. Those fans saw Tank Toland and what I was capable of, as far as being a worker, overall. The WWE universe, they got to see a very small little, very watered down, part of who I was as a wrestler, a worker in general. Yeah. So, and that kind of bothers me because I wanted to be able to really, show all of my abilities. So, yeah.
So were you surprised when you guys get released, or do you get sent back to OVW? What happened?
So basically, a couple things happened. One thing being that, the gimmick was just, the gimmick, and you tried the best with it, but after a while, it's the joke is gonna get old, real quick if you can't evolve from it, if you can't make it something else, or make or grow in some way. The dick's got to grow, and that's just the fact of life. And so, uh, but basically, because of the gimmick being getting tired real quick, and also Chad and I, most people by now know that Chad and I had this big blow up fight, and that was due to Wrestlers Court and him getting a lot of heat with the boys, time and time again, and it just came down to it, and it was unfortunate because I never wanted to hurt him or anything like that, but shit happens, and if you're gonna throw the first punch, you better be ready. Let's just say that. So,
Damn, so it didn't end up well for you guys.
well, yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't end up well for him that night, but yeah, I mean, that pissed me off more though, because I never want to, even though, oh my gosh, there was times I wanted to kill him, but I never wanted to actually hurt him, and I never wanted him to give in to what the boys were doing with hazing him and stuff, because that's part of the deal when you go up there, especially during that time, man. I mean, it was that time. A lot of people will tell you that being up in that locker room when we were there was a tough time. There was a lot of cancerous people up there, and it just a negative vibe. Um, and we got up there, and they just they immediately start ribbing you, and they ribbed me. I don't even know how many times, and I took it and I smiled and I laughed it off, or I no sold it, and to the point where I remember it was Chris Benoit took me outside after one of the shows, or during one of the shows, and he's like, "Hey, Tank, I just want to let you know, like, the boys were talking, and you're taking the ribbon, you're taking it great, man. You're taking it like a champ, and we're not going to bust your balls anymore. We like you. You're a good guy." And I was like, "Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate that. It means a lot." And his next sentence was, "But you got to get a hold of your boy. Your boy, man. Guys do not like him. He's got a lot of heat, and he complains about everything. You took the ribs well, and he's always complaining that, come on, guys, come on, give me a break, blah blah blah." And that's not going to do well for him. But also, you're a tag team partner, so it goes hand in hand, which I knew. That's one of the things. It's about being a tag team, man. You're not just riding by yourself, and that heat can get transferred onto you whether they like you or not. So that's kind of what happened with that. Yeah.
And you guys get released, or like what happened?
Oh yeah. So sorry. So there I go, taking you into a vortex. It's my ADD. Yeah. So basically, it was after that fight. We went on tour. That fight happened in Mexico City, and I remember we came back and we did some more TV, and then we went to Japan, and then after we came back from Japan, I think it was like the next week. I remember I was driving in the car, and I get a call. I answered the call, and it's Johnny Ace, and I'm just driving down the road on a conference call with Johnny Ace, and Chad's on the other line, and he's like, "Oh yeah, boys, yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, but we gotta let you go. We gotta let you go. We gotta release you. The gimmick, it just wasn't getting over, and when it comes down to it, guys, you can't go fighting in a hotel. You can't go fighting in a hotel. We're a publicly traded company. It's not a good look. Yeah. He's like, so yeah, it's not good. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, get the fuck out of here with this. Tell me about the fight bullshit. I was like, the boys first off baited it, and second, you got dudes that were freaking all pilled up. Some of them getting locked out of the rooms naked, and in a crowded hotel, they still had their jobs, So it's like fuck you, Like I know what the deal was. You just didn't like the gimmick. It was fine. You didn't like the gimmick, and you didn't like me, and you didn't like Chad. That's all good. So that's good. No problem. Just be real. Don't tell me because it followed up with this. It followed up with of course I guarantee he says this to everyone else because I've talked to other people and it's the same thing. Oh, wrestling, it's a revolving door. It's the business. It's a revolving door here. You go away for a little while. Let's let things cool down. Let's let people forget about the dicks, and then we'll work on getting you guys back in and blah 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 blah. And part of it was when he let us go, it was like I said, he didn't like the gimmick, he didn't like us, also from what I understand, they didn't want to get rid of me, but they felt they had to from like things I heard from the office, but they didn't want to get rid of me, but they had to get rid of me because I was part of the tag team and part of the whole thing that was going on with the wrestlers court and stuff. They're calling Chad a faggot and gay and all this other stuff. And I think that they were worried that if they just released Chad could have some kind of lawsuit or, discrimination or what have you. So yeah, I think they just said, well, it's better just to get rid of both of them. And it's no sweat off Johnny's back anyway. So yeah, so that's kind of what happened with that. But, so we got the old wish you best in your future endeavors statement, so.
Did you ever think any of the ribs went too far or wrestlers went too far?
Not really. I mean, look, I wasn't eating shit. I wasn't drinking piss. It was stupid stuff. It was like one time I came out from the match and my bag wasn't there and I was looking around for it and I hear the shower running and they had my bag under the shower with all my stuff in it, all my gear in it. Big deal. So I have wet clothes. Okay. I zipped it up with the water in there, pulled it back out, watched the rest of the show, went to the tour bus with everyone out, pulling it right behind me with water just streaming out. Threw it under the bus with the rest of the luggage and didn't say a word. Another one was came back from the match, wearing my clothes, looking for my Biz Kaz clothes, and nowhere to be found. I'm looking, and there they are. Oh, I see them. They're glued to the wall, glued to the wall like a person. And so I took them down, put them on, didn't say a word, sat in the chair, watched the rest of the show, didn't say a word. Got on the bus, that was it. Didn't say a word. And that's the kind of stuff that happened. It was nothing really major. It was just, just fucking around. So it wasn't anything like they were, taking foreign objects and shoving them up our asses or anything like that, So, but some people could take it better than others. Some people are real soft, and some people are, got the Gen X mentality where you're like, ah, fuck it, So that's it. Yeah.
To me, that's just funny, not harmless, but just funny rib, funny prank.
Look, yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks when it happens to you because you're like, shit, my clothes are soaking wet. I'm going, okay, this is, it is what it is. So, but that that's a temporary thing, and that they're just testing you, and that you just roll with it. That's just like anything in life. When people fuck with you, you just, like if it's a real world, they fuck with you, you fuck back. But in the business, like if you're just like the same as if you're on a freaking sports team, like I played sports my whole life, and or any other thing where it's like a brotherhood or something like that. Like, it's like people will mess with you a little bit. It's kind of like an initiation, and then you're one of the boys. That's it. They want to see if you could take the punches, so then you guys can all have a laugh and some beers later. That's it. See if you fit in. That's it.
As we hit the wind up, we'll head towards the finish here.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the run, it's like, okay, maybe it's not what you want it to be. Did you ever want to head back there, or was that a goal? Or I know you had a nice, fun run in Ring of Honor, but did you want to head back to the WWE at any point?
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, of course. I mean, I had dreams. I still have dreams to this day. Like, I mean, literal dreams, not just like, figuratively. Oh, I daydream about it. No, I mean, I literally have dreams where I'm getting the shot again, and it's like I'm super excited, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here, and Vince is giving me another shot, and this time I'm gonna show him what I got, and I'm gonna make this work, and it's always something crazy too, of course, like, shit, my boots are in the car, I'm up next. I gotta go get them real quick and put them on. Like something crazy like that, like or something ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I have dreams about it all the time, and I miss it. I miss being, especially performing at that level, where you have all the fans there. I mean, like for me, it was always like the bigger the audience, the more energy, and just the more excited I got, and it was just awesome. So that's also why I absolutely loved working with the Ring of Honor, because they had great crowds. That's why I mean my bar none my favorite's OVW, just because it was like just like it was a great arena. The fans were the best. They were amazing fans. They were loyal and just phenomenal people, and just a great time. Couldn't have been a better run show. Ring of Honor, obviously the fans were great there, and the locker room was great there. So that was the thing. Like OVW was like, it was literally like everyone was family in OVW. There was no fucking around. There was no heat. There was no bullshit. We were all just family, and we're all trying to get each other over so we can get up to the big show and just make it up there. And like, I'm friends to this day with so many of the guys from OVW, because it's really a family. It's a brotherhood, a fraternity, couldn't have been better. And the locker room at Ring of Honor when I was there, phenomenal. And some of the guys that were working there, I was like, why are these guys not up in the WWE right now? And they ended up getting up there. Claudio Castagnoli, who Cesaro, and then guys of Matt Seidel, Chris, Brian Danielson, and guys like that. Chris Hero, who they could have used him so much better, and Colt Cabana, which is another one they fucked up. So but yeah, so it was really good. So those two locker rooms were phenomenal. WWE's locker room at the time, I'm hoping it's better now, but it was shitty at the time. But but I still made it work. So yeah, I don't even know if I answered your question.
Oh yeah. What's next wrestling wise? Are you
You
allowed to
know,
say?
oh no, I'm probably going to do some more local shows. You know, whoever wants to book me, they can book me. They can find me on Facebook. They can just type in Tank Toland or John Toland, and then Instagram. I'm Tank Toland. That's easy enough to come find me there. I'll work anywhere really. But right now, since I'm in the tri-state area, Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania type of area, I'm mainly working around here, but I'll work anywhere. Shoot, I would like to go back to. I would like to actually go back to Louisville and do some shows there because I just love to get back in front of those fans. They're a lot of fun. I actually went there over the summer back to OVW to check it out and hung out with Al Snow and Doug Basham in the production room and stuff and watched them put on the show, which they're doing a great job with things since Danny isn't there anymore, and they're doing great things. And same with Danny Cage McDonald over at the Monster Factory. I mean, it's so good seeing Danny take that school and keep it going. Not only keep it going strong, but just really building it up to something even better than it actually was, in my opinion. Because I mean, some great people came from the Monster Factory, but training there and seeing what you trained in and stuff, it was very simple and humble. And he put together a great place, and they do great things, and they have great philosophy and psychology, and a great way of being there. So I give a lot of credit to Danny Cage to really building that up even more, getting guys signed, getting girls signed, and keeping it alive. So, that's awesome. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, any other like bookings on the horizon? Any big places you'll be working?
Not as of yet now. No, not as of now. I would. Hey, look, like I said, I am definitely ready to get back and do a lot more shows and go full steam again. I'm in great shape, and I'm not letting that slide at all, and just ready to go out and have some good time and be a character like I always was. So have a good time. Yeah, so I'm ready.
Anywhere else people can find you besides your two social medias? Anywhere else to reach out and try to book you?
Okay, so my phone number is no. I'm just now mainly that's the two main ones. I'm also on TikTok. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you want to just come find me, just hunt me down on Facebook and hunt me down just like you did, and or Instagram, one of those two. I'm not a big poster, which I should be. I should get more involved with putting stuff online and stuff like that. But I'm gonna try and get more into that. But yeah, but you can. I'll still find messages there and answer them, and I'm happy to get back in that ring and put on a good show for people.
All right, Tank, we got to have you back for part two. Barely scratched the surface here. We got to have you back on, but thank you
Hey,
so much for all time. Really appreciate it.
John, pleasure's all mine. I'd love to come back anytime you want to have me.